Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to episode 5 of Spiritually Aligned, a podcast designed to support and guide women who are on their journey of awakening. And over the next several months, I'm actually dedicating this space to supporting and guiding the divine feminines who are on the twin flame journey. Because together, we're going to dive into various aspects of this journey so you can peel back the layers and rediscover who you are, accept these parts of you, and really begin to transform your life while aligning to your inner knowing about your journey as a twin flame. This way you can start cultivating, creating a loving and compassionate journey for yourself, but also for your beloved as well. So I invite you to join me into this week's episode. And this week's episode is, I found out I'm a twin flame. Now what? So if this is resonating with you and you're wanting some guidance and support, then grab a cup of coffee and a cup of tea and join me. But before we dive in, I want to introduce myself. I'm your host, Melissa. I am a Reiki master, a spiritual guide. I transform energy multidimensionally, and I am the divine feminine in my twin flame connection. For those of you that are into human design, I am actually a 3-5 emotional projector. And the reason why I share that, because as a 3-5, my soul loves, and I mean loves to experiment with life. It wants to experience all that it can. So no matter where it is that I'm going in life, I am always taking the longest way to get there. Because it's along the way, through the experiences that I have, I get to learn what works and doesn't work, and I get to teach you through these things that I have experienced. So you can take what resonates with you and start applying it to your journey, and you don't have to waste your valuable time and your precious energy trying to figure out what works and doesn't work, because I have already done that for you. And that's part of my soul's purpose and mission. So let's dive into this week's episode. So if you're anything like me, when you met your twin flame, your world was flipped upside down, right? It's like this journey just cracks you wide open for you to be able to see all these parts of you that you have been hiding. And it's an opportunity for us to see these parts, to accept, and to heal, so you can transform and create a life that you desire. And all the while, when you find out you're a twin flame, there's all this information out there, right? And it becomes overwhelming. You feel lost and you feel confused. You don't know what steps to take. Am I right? I know a lot of you, this is resonating with you, because this was actually my story. And what most of you may not know is that the first year and a half of knowing my twin flame, I didn't even know I was a twin flame. It was actually a blessing in disguise, and I was literally ignorance. You know, the term ignorance is bliss. That's where I was at. I didn't know what was going on, but I was just following what I was guided to do by my intuition and my connection to God. And once I discovered I was a twin flame, everything that I was reading didn't resonate with me. And it wasn't actually how I was feeling regarding this journey. And what I find sometimes is when we label ourselves and we put ourselves into a space, we start taking on the limiting beliefs, the conditions that have already been placed upon us in this collective. And my goal and my mission is for you to be able to tap into your inner knowing, follow your inner truth about this journey, because it may feel like we are flying the plane and building the plane all at the same time. And the reason why I describe it in this way is simply due to the fact that when it comes to this journey, there is no instructions. There's no plan. There's no template in the 3D reality that says if you do step 1 first, once you're done with that, you're going to go to step 2. Once you do step 2, then you're going to go to step 3, right? There's nothing out there like that. And it's designed that way. And it's designed for us to begin to honor our soul's journey and our soul's plan, and to let go of the conditioning that society and our parents have put on us, to let go of the templates around love, relationships, how a man must be or a woman must be. Like, we're here to clear those, not only for us, but for our lineage and for the planet. But also too, this journey, we have to remember, isn't linear. And so many people are like, okay, well, if I do this, then this should happen. But when it comes to healing, when it comes to the twin flame journey, it's not like that. There are highs and there are lows in the beginning, and they seem really high and they seem really low, right? I mean, I remember spending days crying because I was triggered, or crying because of something that happened between my beloved and I. And it would take me days and sometimes weeks to move through some of this. But what happens is, the more that we heal, these highs and lows become smaller and smaller. And they're not as frequent, because in the beginning, you're bombarded with all of this stuff that you're seeing, especially through the dark night of the soul. But we also have to remember too that sometimes we're going to move forward in this journey, and then it's going to feel like we just took 10 steps back. But it's designed that way, because when it feels like our ego is saying, we just are going backwards, that movement backwards is actually going to propel you farther forward than if you were just to stay on a steady pace, on this course. Like, everything is designed for you to move through this journey in a way that aligns to you. All the while, we're continuing to move up the mountain. We're spiraling up the ascension ladder and ascending our consciousness. Because here's the thing that we have to remember is there's two goals when it comes to the journey of twin flames. You could say there's three, but we're going to leave the third one off the table right now. And I encourage you to take that off the table. And I'm talking about 3D union. Take that off the table. Take your focus off of 3D union. And I know all the time in Facebook groups, in post comments and stuff like that, you'll hear people say all the time, especially for those of you that are obsessively thinking about your divine masculine and overwhelmed by this journey, people will say, take your focus off of your twin flame and turn it on to you. Although that advice is right, but in the beginning of your journey, you're like, how do I do that, right? How do I take the focus off of them and turn it onto me? We're going to dive into that in this episode. But I want to just talk about 2 reasons why this twin flame journey exists. There's many reasons, but these are the 2 that have been most prominent in my journey. One is it's designed to help us ascend our consciousness, right? And the twin flame journey is actually designed to be an acceleration of our awakening. However, it's taken many of us years, and some even decades, to get to where it is that they're wanting to go in this journey, in this evolution of life, right? And that's because we're falling into the traps and the beliefs that have been placed on us by the collective, which is why I always say, and you will hear me say this time and time again regarding my videos on TikTok. If you're not following me over there, head on over there. But I'll say that my videos on there, I say it on here, I say it all the time. Take what only resonates with you and apply that to your journey. Because when something resonates with you, that's your truth. That's your inner knowing saying, hey, this is the way, this is the way. So honor that part of you. Some of you need to discover what that feels like when something does resonate with you. What does it feel like when your inner knowing is talking to you? Or what does it feel like when your ego is talking to you? Or something isn't your truth. It's really important that we use discernment, because not all information out there is good information, including some of my information is not going to be good information. And so I encourage you to be mindful of what it is that you're listening to, what it is that you're reading and consuming regarding this journey, because some of it has taken us away from our truth. Because my truth is, this journey shouldn't take a long time, because it's supposed to be an acceleration of our awakening. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be frustrating. It doesn't have to be whatever it is, fill in the blank, that you are experiencing. And I'm going to be quite honest. Some of you are too caught up in, I'm in this phase, and I want to get to this phase. How do I get there? And then what do I need to do to get to that phase? Screw the phases. I don't even know what the phases are. And quite honestly, I've never cared, because again, it's not do this, then you do that, and then you do this. It's a dancing between these things, and it's a moving of back and forth and up and down. And we have to learn to enjoy the ride. And we can't forget that this journey is about creating inner union, healing your inner feminine, your inner masculine, healing the experiences that they have had that are keeping them separate. So you can begin to dance with life and really step into your power. And so if you're ready to receive some guidance in terms of what are some things that you can do to help you navigate this journey and really utilize this journey to accelerate your awakening, then continue listening. So when it comes to the obsessive thinking, where you're constantly thinking about your beloved all day long, they're on your mind 24/7. You go to sleep thinking about them. The first thing that you do when you wake up is you're thinking about them. You're thinking about them when you're showering, getting ready, at work, driving to work, whatever it may be, they're always on your mind, right? They're living in your mind rent-free. And you have to figure out, why is it that you're allowing this? Because if you're the chaser or you're new to the connection, this love and all these feelings and emotions that you have are actually controlling you. And this is where you have to start to learn to be emotionally intelligent and to allow your beloved to show you what it is that you need to see, accept, heal within you so you can transform. And so when you think about the obsessive thinking, there's some healing that needs to be done. And I know many of you on the twin flame journey that are new, or maybe are even been on this journey for a little while, don't quite understand how to do inner work, right? Or perhaps you're a lot like me, that once I found out that I was a twin flame, I had a lot, and I mean a lot of resistance of doing inner work. And I would just kind of tiptoe into it. I would scratch the surface a little bit and be like, I'm good. But no, some of this healing that we do and that we need to do calls us deep down into things. And so if you're struggling with it, I got you, because on June 1st, I'm actually launching a self-paced course called Inner Alchemy, where I teach you my 4-step process in terms of doing inner work and how to do all 4 of these steps to really heal and transform, so you can start creating union within, and you can really start creating the life that you desire and letting go of all the limiting beliefs and conditions that have been placed upon you. So I encourage you to head on over to my website and sign up for my newsletter so you don't miss out when the launch date happens for Inner Alchemy. So when it comes to this journey and moving from that obsessive thinking and turning the focus onto you, here are some things that I've found that have been very helpful in my own journey and working with my clients to help take the focus off of the divine masculine. First is, I would begin diving into your childhood wounds. Start diving into your shadow. What parts of you do you not want anyone to see? For me, I didn't want anyone to know that I was codependent, that I have a fear of abandonment, that I was insecure, jealous, and I struggled with poverty consciousness. Those 5 things were things that I would do anything to ensure that no one ever found those things out about me. Sit with yourself for a moment. What are your 5 things that you don't want anyone to know about you because you fear that if they find out about you, they're not going to like you? They perhaps will no longer love you. And maybe they don't even want to be in your life anymore. Those are the things that need to be seen. Those are the things that need to be accepted and healed. I would also begin to understand what your attachment style is. Once I found out what my attachment style was 3 years ago, it changed everything for me. Everything. Because it gave me insight to understanding how I operated, why I operated this way. And for me, I was like 85% anxious attachment and 10% avoidant and 5% secure when I originally took this questionnaire. And I'll drop the link in the description box so you can take the quiz as well and figure out what yours are. And now I'm like 2% avoidant and like 98% secure. Because I dove into this, I learned how I operated and why I was operating that way. And I took the steps to starting to become a secure attachment style. I would also look at your beliefs around men and around relationships, because most likely those beliefs that you have are being played out between you and your beloved. And the way that you can see that is by looking at them. What do they say regarding love and relationships and the opposite sex? Or if you're a divine feminine, when you're around your girlfriends, listen to them. What are they saying about men? What are they saying about relationships? You have to remember, your 3D reality is giving you clues to your inner reality. So when you start to become aware and really listen and be present in conversations, and you're taking notes mentally of like, oh, somebody said that, it gives you an opportunity then to later on down the road say, okay, I need to dive into this belief. Where did this come from? Why do I have that? And reprogram your mind to think something else. Another area you can dive into is looking at your mother and father wounds. We have different experiences with our mother and father, good and bad. And these wounds that we experience with them get played out in our dynamic. And most people think that their beloved is actually playing out the wounds that they have with a parent of the opposite sex. But I have found in my connection that he has shown me wounds that I've had with my father, but also to my mother as well. Because remember, this journey is about healing things within you in order to come into union within by balancing out your masculine and feminine energy. And once you get to that place, you then know that you're on your way to 3D union. But in order to get to 3D union, you have to also look at separation consciousness. Where are you still embodying and living from that state of separation consciousness? How do you view others around you? Do you view them as being separate as you? Or do you see all of us as one? And what's your connection with God? Because most likely if you see yourself as separate as God, or God is something outside of you, you're also going to see your divine masculine outside of you as well. So look at your separation consciousness. And even more importantly is look at your poverty consciousness as well. And I know what you're thinking. I'm not poor, but poverty consciousness isn't necessarily about being poor. It's being in a state of lack. And where is it that you're living from a place of lack? And just think about that for a moment. For some of you, yeah, it might be financially. Some of you might be love. Some of you, it might be other things like food or whatever it may be. But look at it, look into where is it that you're living from a place of lack. This one has been something that I've been diving into most recently over the last 6 to 9 months, and that's looking at my fear of intimacy. Because the more inner work that I do, I discover more parts of myself, right? And for those of you that are in third-party connections, meaning there's you, your beloved, and another person or thing, you most likely have this fear of intimacy. And when you start diving into this fear of intimacy, you may find out that you have a fear of vulnerability because you were probably vulnerable with somebody and they use that against you. You might even lack trust with yourself or with your beloved. And the best way that you can look at in terms of like your level of intimacy is how intimate are you with yourself? And I know what you're thinking, Melissa. No. That's another thing I was going to say next is look at your definition of intimacy. What is it? Maybe you have a very distorted or even limited definition of intimacy when your soul has a different definition of it. So sit down and write about it. Ask your mind, how do you define intimacy? And write about it. And then sit with your soul and turn within. And what does it mean to be intimate in regards to your soul? Because that fear is going to create distance between you and your beloved. Also, too, this journey is about looking at your beliefs around personal power. Where is it that you're lacking personal power? What's your beliefs around it? And most likely, a lot of you may have your personal power hidden in your shadow. I know that's where I found mine. And that's where a lot of my clients and friends and others that I know on this journey have found theirs. Because for me, I hid my power back there because when I was in my power, I ended up hurting those who I loved. And I didn't want to hurt those people. And so I hid it. And it made me feel weak. It made me feel like I was a victim. And really the list goes on. So dive into that. Understand why you're hiding your personal power. And what steps you need to do to start stepping into that power. Now, this is where it starts to get really fun. And I mean really fun. And this is some of my favorite work that I love to do. And once I feel I am complete and whole in sharing guidance and support with those of you on the twin flame journey, I'm going to be really diving into inner work around inner feminine and inner masculine energy. Because this is where we get to really see different parts of ourselves. This is where we get to learn how we've been operating from most of our life. Because whether you are male or female, you have both masculine and feminine energy within you. Some of you have been operating mostly from your distorted masculine for most of your life. And your inner feminine, she was wounded, right? Because, well, that's my story anyways, because my mom was operating from her wounded feminine. I was like, no way am I going to operate from there. I'm going to step into my distorted masculine, and this is where I'm going to run my life from. Well, that didn't go so well. But you get to see, where is it that you're operating from? Where have you operated most of your life from? Evaluate, or is your feminine in her wounded feminine, that level 1 feminine where she's in her heart, but she's powerless? Or is your inner feminine operating from that place of, I'm in my power, like I am woman, hear me roar, the boss babe era, and very disconnected from her heart? So just evaluate. And yes, you could be dancing between these two, because there were times when I was in my the level 2, like the boss babe era, but yet there were parts of me that were still wounded. And then evaluate the same thing for your inner masculine. Where are you operating from in terms of your masculine energy? Is he wounded or is he distorted? And again, it's the same thing. Like the wounded masculine is in his heart, but he has no personal power. And the distorted masculine is operating from fear and ego, and he is powerful, but he's disconnected from his heart. And when we embody the divine masculine and divine feminine, they are in their heart space and they are powerful. And that energy is very beautiful. And that's the goal we want to create within ourselves, to be able to dance between these two energies so we can continue to move through our journey of life and really cultivating and creating the life that our heart desires and doing the work that we desire. Because once you heal the inner feminine and inner masculine and create that union within, that's when you're stepping into your truth, where you're embodying the person that you are meant to be. And the only way you can really do the work to get there is by doing all the other things that I talked about. Because spiritual bypassing or a false positivity, I'm going to let you know, it doesn't work. I've tried many times. And if you're trying to just do this work to get your beloved back, guess what? That doesn't work either. This journey has to be about you. Doing this work that I'm talking about is about you. And when you take union off the focus and you turn the focus onto you and you rediscover these parts of you and you are open to allowing your beloved to show these parts of you, you get to really experience a really beautiful journey that is so transformative and so inspiring. And so, my friends, I really hope this helps you and gives you some guidance in terms of what steps to take next, or how can you utilize this information to accelerate your journey of awakening. But remember, don't do this work because you don't want your beloved to show you things or for your beloved to see those things, because guess what? They already know. Subconsciously, they already know. There's no hiding anything from your beloved. Even if you're in separation and you don't even talk to one another, they still know. And so if you're wanting some more support and guidance, make sure you're following me on TikTok and Instagram. You can find me at Sacredness Within You. And if you're wanting to dive into your own personal journey and receive some guidance as well, or some healing, click on the links down below and schedule a one-on-one healing session. For those of you that are wanting to connect with other divine feminines and be part of something bigger while learning more about this journey, receiving guidance and healing, and just really so much more, then make sure you join Circle. It's a beautiful portal for the divine feminines to be able to not only transform your reality, but make massive shifts in the collective as well. And so I thank you for joining me in this week's episode. It's always a pleasure to be able to share this with you, because honestly, creating this podcast has filled my soul in such an amazing way. And to give you a sneak peek into next week's episode is really designed for those of you that have been on the journey for a while, where you might feel stuck, stagnant, whatever it may be on your journey. We're going to start evaluating, what is it that you're doing, and is it actually working for you? And if the answer is no, it's time to change things up. So I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until next time, my friends, I'm sending you all so much love and light.